Here we are, Sunday morning, June 29th, 2025. Psalms 37:28, which says, "For the Lord loves the just and will not forsake his faithful ones. They are protected forever." This verse emphasizes, and it tells you, that God's enduring love and faithfulness toward us who follow him. Isn't that great? It's there forever. And that's a good thing to think on. You know, when I was out in California all alone and Buddy was overseas, that's how I made it because I didn't have a family and I had moved to one place where I had no friends out in California. But I went to church. And next thing you knew, I had acquaintances and friends and somebody to talk to. And that was such a blessing. I'm a people person. And I think most people are people. You know, you want to have somebody around. Like saw Kentucky Life with Debbie saying the other day, she wants to live in town. She don't like living in the country. Well, I never did either. And now that girl is doing good, little sister. You are doing great. Of course, I just shouted her out again, but she did a video for 40 minutes the other day and had over 5,000 views. I'm so proud of her. Proud of you, girl. I feel like I'm her mentor in a way, just like Granny Pat Chitchat. Granny Pat has always been, uh, she's always been an inspiration to me. And the other day, I couldn't find her on my iPad. I thought it was an old video, but she had kind of named it the same. So therefore, I thought it was one I saw. And so I thought, well, that's not her. She's taking a rest. I was wrong. So I apologized. And I apologize again. I'm sorry. So I'm getting old. But if you're not getting older, where are you? So I'm still here enjoying life one day at a time. And I remember how I started my YouTube. I have told y'all how I started my YouTube accidentally. It truly was an accident. And I'm going to run it past you again this morning. But before you do that, I have things to talk about and some interesting things. I'm interesting, girls. I tell you what, when I go to these yard sales and I talk to people, they want to keep me because I'm fun to talk to. So I think it's fun talking to y'all. But anyway, I'm going to have a sip of coffee, give you a minute to go get whatever you want. And you know what? If I go too long, and it's like Debbie says, and Granny Pat, they say, just pause it, shut it down, watch the rest of it later. Put in your earbuds, whatever, and catch me later. I have got my microphones on this morning. See this little one? Then I got another one up on the iPad, so I'm loud enough. Y'all can hear me. But I tell you what, when I was out in California, oh no, I want to tell you how I started this YouTube. And I have told it before. But a lot of y'all are new. But back in almost 2 years ago in December, I decided my iPad is what I carry around all the time. I read books on it. I can check them right out of the library. It's like a Kindle. You can get Kindle on it. And so I carry it everywhere I go. So that morning, and it was a morning, I was going to take a selfie to send my girls because I have 3 daughters and we chat all the time and we send each other pictures and stuff. And we communicate that way because one is in South Carolina, one is in New Jersey, Karen's in South Carolina, Kathy's in New Jersey, and Kim is in New Salisbury, 20 miles away with on a little farm with chickens and turkeys and I don't know what all. I go out there once in a while. She don't come in town. So I was going to take a selfie. So I was posing like this, that, and the other because I'm a flip. I'm flirty and flippy. I just enjoy life. So I was just posing, like I was a model. And so I said, that looks good. So I took the picture and it turned out good. And then I remembered that I used to do videos at bluegrass festivals with my little mini iPad. And I says, I believe I'll talk a little while. So I just started talking about how I go to Walmart and Myers and how I don't want to live in the country and how I stay in my little apartment during the day and James's office isn't far away, and he can come home. It's just so handy to be in town where all my shopping is. So I only talked about 11 minutes. And then James says, "That's good. My husband was my encourager." And he said, "I tell you what you need to do. Just call it chapters of your life and just do a chapter a day. Just do it." So this is a different chapter I'm in now, that's for sure, Chickadee. Oh, and I call people Chickadee if I don't know their name. And I don't remember y'all's names. Some of you I do, and others I don't, but I recognize them when I see them. So he said, just call it the chapters of your life. So I said, well, what in the world am I going to talk about? So I started raking my brain. And of course, I've been a Christian for many years. And me and number one went on the evangelistic field when he was 48 and I was 46. I mean, our family was gone. We had a motorhome, so we took it to start with, and that was like living in prison. I couldn't take it. So I started to find out what we needed to do. And so I just kept doing chapter by chapter of the miracles that God has done in my life and my children's life. And it's been one after another. And when I go to these yard sales, I say, watch, I've got 70,000 subscribers. And thanks to people that shouted me out, good Christian people like uh, Jared King TV, who is going great guns, and like Cole Cantinio, who is going great. I have had so many people, and it's the Lord, because I told how God healed me when I couldn't have children, how we prayed for a millionaire. And I tell these yard sale people, I have had so many miracles, and say, I want to subscribe, I want to subscribe. And so I keep getting subscribers, though I will admit that some drop off and some come back. You know, you just don't know what's going to happen. I do look at the numbers of my subscribers, and it changes all the time. But all of us YouTubers watch it. And old me, old me, better living, who is now, I think, 81 or 82, shouted me out, and that's helped me recently. But but it's amazing what people can do to help each other and have a little community. Now, I tell you what, this Sandra Brown, who I have never shouted out, being happy at 60, Sandra Brown, and I have watched her a long time, but I never commented because, I wasn't in I didn't know about commenting for a long time, and I was watching her, and you should look at her because you know what? She got a husband from one of those clubs that like Plenty of Fish, and she found her a wonderful man. Well, I tried that. I took my turn at that with Plenty of Fish. I don't know which one she went into, but she got her a husband because her husband had passed away and she was lonely, and you do get lonely. And I got lonely after Buddy passed away, and I found one walking at the mall, number two. And he was more or less a partner, but he was good company, and he liked my food, and I still liked to cook. But one thing about life, it keeps changing all the time. But James is my number one fan. He don't watch them anymore, but he wants to know what's going on. But I did it what he said. I named it Chapters of My Life. And another chapter's happening all the time. You don't know what's going to happen next. It just, you just don't know. And I got all these blouses. Aren't they cute? I like this one. About half of them have went back in another sack to go bye-bye. But you try them on. And see, I couldn't try them on down there at the yard sale. Not hardly. I'm not going to strip off but some of them were too little, and some of them I just plain didn't like. That's the way with women. If they don't like it, then they exchange it for something else. And that's what I've done. That's what we do. But Kentucky Life with Debbie has been an inspiration to me also, because when she said, I think I got something to talk about, if I said, she says, I feel like I might start a YouTube. And she don't even really like to have her picture took. I like to have my picture took. I wanted to be a model, but I was too short. My nose is too big. I am not a candidate to be a model, but I don't mind being on YouTube. It don't bother me. But I don't like pictures taken too much either because I always look stupid. You know, you feel like that a lot of times. Seem like I could have done that better. And a lot of times when I make these videos, I have been known to delete them and do them again. Old me living better, who I just love, he talks about how to make videos and be encouraged if you're older, 60, 70, 80, go ahead and start a YouTube. And that's what I say. Anybody wants to do it. Who knows? People will love you. There'll be some out there that will just love you. So I did it. And I made, when I got up to 300 subscribers, and I'm the kind of person that tells everybody what's going on. I'm very transparent, really. And so if I met somebody at the store and they say, "Oh, I love the rose in your hair. That is so pretty." And I said, "Well, I do it for you too because I got all those kiddos out there I want to look good for." And of course, I've been wearing them my whole life. So I said, I enjoy doing it. And then I tell them, I got so many subscribers. "Oh, where you at?" I say, "Here, take a picture." And I just pull my phone out and they pull their phone out and they take a picture and they don't have to type it in. Simple. Y'all can do that too. I don't know if anybody's as outgoing as I am, though. When I first met James and went out to eat with him the very first time, I told him, I said, I am a little outgoing. And he just like to fell off his chair laughing because I am outgoing. I've always been that way. My mom used to tell me, "Now, Clarine," and my name is Clarine, "do not be telling old Miss Brooks all our business when she comes to visit." And that was when I was 5 and 6 years old. Because if Daddy had done something, I was apt to tell anybody. She said, "You just sit and listen, okay?" So I would try to keep my mouth shut and not tell that I had to go to the doctor and be wormed. Because when I was 5 years old, this isn't this one is not fun. But down there in Virginia, when I was living in Smith Holler, in a little red house. Norman says he don't remember it being red, but it was. Well, we didn't have anything except an outside toilet. So I wasn't hardly big enough to get onto the outside toilet. So I just used potty around behind the house. And I used the potty one day and there was a big worm in my potty, in my number two. I mean, I saw it. And so what did I do as a 5 year old? And I was five. I scooped that thing up on a stick and I took it in the house and I said, "Mommy, look what look what came out of me." I thought I was probably going to die or something. Something was really wrong. She said, "Oh my goodness, you've got worms." Back in that day, people got pinworms and roundworms. And that was called a roundworm, which I never heard tell of. You can research it on Google, people. So I had a big old roundworm. And she says, "We're taking you to the doctor." So when Daddy got home, she told Daddy about it. He said, "Well, we're taking her down to Rose Hill to the doctor." They took me several times to Rose Hill to the doctor because I was always doing something. I was very outgoing, as I say. So they took me to the doctor and they told the doctor what happened. The doctor said, "Yes, she has roundworms and they do get worms from going barefooted." And I always went barefooted. I don't know how that happens. I didn't research that on Google. Maybe I will, or y'all can let me know. So he had medicine for it right there, and so he had a bottle of it looked like cough syrup, kind of brown, and he said this will taste good. And so he told Mom how to give it to me, and they wormed to me. And now when I raised puppy dogs, poodles, which I raised poodles for a long time, for like 20 years, I raised toy poodles. And you have to worm them and deflea them and cut their tails. And I learned how to do all that. And I learned how to worm my cats. You have cats, if they get fleas, they can get worms also. I learned how to worm my cats and take care of my animals. And did you know that the farmers have to worm their animals also, their hogs and their different? And Kim told me, which I didn't know, they have to give medicine to their chickens that will keep them free from all kinds of stuff like that, which I didn't know. But the doctor said that worm medicine's going to taste good, and it was delicious. So they had no trouble getting that worm medicine down me. Later on in life, when we moved home from California and the twins were about 2.5 years old, they were crying as they went to bed. A lot of times they would start crying. Here I'm on this subject of worms, and y'all just might as well learn about it. And if you can't stand it, just cut it off and watch something else. That's all I can tell you. But it's true facts of life. And pinworms are still around. And so I said, "What's the matter? What's the matter?" to one of them. And she says, "I don't know. Something's just really bothering my bottom, Mommy." I said, "Uh-oh," because I had also got pinworms. Now, have you heard tell of pinworms? They're a little white worm, about a fourth of an inch long, white as they can be, and they just, lots of them. And that you get from going barefooted also. So I got the flashlight and I looked at their little bottoms because they were only like 4 years old or so. And there they had pinworms. So I took them to the doctor, and the doctor gave them worm medicine. So then we wormed the twins, and that took care of that. But I don't know if they still happen or not. But if you go barefooted, the doctor said you can get pinworms and worms from the earth somehow or other. I got to find out more about that. I never researched it. And now I'm all interested. So James said when I started my YouTube, call it chapters of your life. And now I'm going through this third husband life, and it is so different. But I learned so much on the evangelistic field to live with James because he is always doing something different. He is not boring. He's got to do this. He's got to. So I said, "What are you going to be doing today?" Well, he's going to church, and then he's going to go by his house that he bought up in Clarksville, which is near the church, and take some measurements because he's going to change things around. And he takes those old houses, and this is pretty old too, and he fixes them up till they are livable. So many of those old homes were not very livable, but he tries to make them livable for whoever gets them, and it makes it more convenient for whoever rents it or whoever buys it. He but I tell him, I say, "Honey, you're not going to live in that. What, they lived there 30, 40 years. What difference does it make? They adjusted." He said, "I got to fix it." It's just a passion with him. And when you have your passion job, enjoy it. Because I've had many jobs that I see that painting up there. That's abstract painting I did when I was married to Mr. Rice, to Floyd, number two. And I did a lot of paintings. And I wonder what that signifies. I think I was going wild with boredom. I don't know because it's a lot of pretty colors. And I had done some more like that and I sold some of them, which didn't make a bit of sense. But I like landscapes and I painted a lot of landscapes, which are around. And I liked my landscapes and I liked my abstracts. But when I met James, my painting left me. I was not interested in anymore. It was over. I even built a room up over my garage where I was going to sell paintings because I had so many, because I had been selling some. And I got bored with that. It turned out to be just a little place I would rent out for a time. And I had some good little renters that lived up there. And we had room for cars. That was before I married James. Now we don't have room for any more cars because he's got two or three over on that side because he bought both of the houses next door and the houses across the street. I am overwhelmed with his houses and his cars. And I have two cars, but life is different all the time. Nothing stays static. And you wonder, James says sometimes in the morning, reckon what's going to happen today because he lives in anticipation And you know I do too. I just wonder are we going to go out for lunch or am I going to get hungry in a little bit and cook? Because I don't hardly cook if I don't get hungry. And it seemed like on Sunday I like to go out. And after Floyd went away and I was alone again, I would go to church, and I always went to church when I could make it. And then I would take myself out for a special lunch, just me, myself, and I. And I would take my book, and me and my book, I would prop my book in front of me, all these people around me eating, but I felt a part of something. And that's why I say that I need to be around people because, I mean, they don't have to come live in my house, they don't have to visit me even. I just like them around. And of course, my girlfriends all passed away, and I did have Anna Marie for a good long while, for several years, her and Beulah May. And now I've outlived them all. But I have my daughters, I have James, and I have the Lord. And number one, I have the Lord. And He is our companion, all the time. And I have to talk to Him often, and I do. You can talk to the Lord wherever you're at. You can tell Him your innermost thoughts. He knows them anyway, but He wants to hear from you. And then after He hears from you, then you just sit down and read your Bible and hear from Him, because there is so many good things in there where He says, I will never leave you nor forsake you. I will be with you. And that's what lived with me when I was in California and I didn't have any friends, because I lived in that good place for a while, and then His ship got sent another place, and I had to move and start all over again. My daughter, Karen, I talk nonstop pretty well, but her husband was in the Air Force and he was a chaplain. Before he went into the Air Force, he was a pastor, a Methodist pastor, and they pastored several churches before he joined the Air Force, decided to be a chaplain. Of course, he had a college education, so he went in as a first lieutenant or something. He was an officer. And so he served and retired. But every 3 years, they would move Karen and her husband. And so she put up with that all those years and lived in some terrible places, like out in Nebraska one year. And he got deployed for a year, and she was there, just her. And I don't know how many kids she had at that time, but, and the snow would be so deep. If it hadn't been for the next door neighbors, uh, pushing the snow out of her driveway, she couldn't have went to the grocery store. But people always help people. I have found out that there are so many kind people in this world, very few bad ones. But that man I shouted out on his yard sale, he goes down to the Y. And he told me and James, I get them mixed up sometimes because they're so much alike. They are so gentle and kind and such a gentleman. God restored to me a wonderful husband that's so much like Buddy that sometimes I just call him the wrong name. I do that with Kathy and Karen Kim too, though, and my brothers. Sometimes I call Danny Wayne. That's life. So anyhow, I'm going on about what happened this morning. So he was down there doing his exercise this Sunday morning, and him and James were standing there talking, and then I talked with him a little while, and he said, "I want to tell you what happened." He said, "Did you see that big sander I had that I wanted $40 for?" I said, "Yeah, I saw that sander. I don't need a sander." He said, "Well, I'm going to tell you what happened." He told me and James what happened. He said he was helping somebody load out stuff to their car. And when he came back, there was this guy that had the sander in his arms. He said, "Well, this is a good buy. This only had $5 on it." But what he didn't know was our friend had saw him sticking that $5 sticker on that sander, and it was $40. So what did he do? What did our friend do? He said to that man, whoever he was, he said, I don't know for sure who did that, because, he just barely saw him out of the corner of his eye doing it. And he wasn't going to accuse him because that's not nice. He don't want a scene. So he said, but he said, this sander is $40. It's not $5. Somebody probably accidentally put it on there or something. And I don't know why they did that, but that's not right. So I'm sorry, but it's $40. He said, but the thing of it is, this guy, while he was loading out stuff, this guy, he saw Alcorn decide to do that. His wife, this friend of ours' wife, was handling things, and he could have probably, if he'd have got it to her, he could have got it for $5. And there are people like that in the world, and it's so disappointing. But my friend, the yard sale guy, handled it in a very civil, Christian, kind way and let the guy go instead of creating a scene and saying, you know good and well you changed that sign. That's $5 price. So that was an interesting story to me. I don't want to have a yard sale. I had one a few years ago, probably been 50 years now. And I just had so much stuff I wanted to get rid of. Now I just take it straight to the thrift store or somewhere. I don't want any money out of it. I don't need any money out of it. I'm fine because I shop the thrift stores and buy blouses at such a great price. I mean, think of the money I say. This blouse probably cost $30 or something when it was new, and it was like new when I bought it because people get tired of things and they change. That's just the way we are. Anyway, I had this yard sale, and I had so much stuff left over that the Salvation Army came and got it. They don't do that now, but there is one place here in Louisville that takes care of handicapped people and stuff like that, and they will come and get it. But I don't know if everybody knows about it. I don't even know about it anymore. But my girlfriend Anna Marie used to do that every year. She would clean out her house and she would call them to come get whatever she was getting rid of. But I just put it in sacks and boxes and take it to the thrift store myself because a lot of the stuff I'm getting rid of, I bought at the thrift store to start with. But it's still good because if you take care of it, I mean, this kind of material will wash 100 times. It's they make really good material now compared to what I tell you what. When I was a teenager in high school, I didn't have many clothes. I did have a woman that I got flashing lights going on. I had a lady that where we caught the school bus, where we had to wait, and thank God. Used to we had to stand in the rain, but there was a little two-room shack there. It was like a kitchen and a living room, bedroom, front room. She would let us come in there and wait on the bus, and when the weather was real bad, which was good. And so she would get me some clothes. But clothes back when I was young, well, I made money picking strawberries. And that is a hard job. And when I would buy something, it was usually like linen or cotton, and you had to iron it with iron. And the iron that I had to iron with, and I bought this two-piece, it was a little jacket and a skirt. And I could wear it for 2 days, and then I would wash it out. I mean, I wore the same dress all week, the same clothes all week because I didn't have but one other change. Maybe I'll wear it next week. So I would wash that out at night, let it dry, and iron it damp with iron off of the stove, which was a big burning, wood stove in the kitchen. And my ironing pad was the kitchen table with a towel on the table. We didn't have an ironing board. Didn't even know what one was. But those irons, you would heat them on the stove and you could lift it off and you would have two irons. And you would heat one, and while the one was heating, you used the other one to iron your skirt and your blouse. And I would do that like every couple of days, and it would be fresh. And then it would get all wrinkled up again because it was linen and it was hard to take care of. I just didn't have many clothes. But as I got later on, when I was around 15, my Aunt Shirley, Uncle Aaron's wife, came and gave me a green suit and some blouses and some skirts, and I was rich. But that lady that lived in that house where we waited for the bus, now she would go to the Goodwill and she would buy things, and she would help me some in high school. She would buy something. She'd say, "This is too little for me. You think it fits you? I paid 50 cents. You think you could pay 50 cents?" And Daddy would, she was getting them at the Goodwill. That's how I learned about the Goodwill, was through her. And she was really Beulah May's stepmother. her daddy married again, and Beulah May, my good friend, was raised by her grandmother down over the hill. But me and Beulah caught the bus together every morning. She was 4 years younger, and she had the scrawniest little legs you ever could see. And her grandma made her wear long stockings. And you put those long stockings on, and you had to hold them up with like a rubber band or something. I don't know. She kept them up somehow or other. I don't know how she did it for sure. But she had to wear them because when she didn't wear them, her legs would be as blue, white with blues. You could see the veins running through her little legs because she wasn't very old, and here I was, 12 or 13, and she was like 6 and 7 because they started school at 6, and she had to catch the bus and walk up from over the hill, which was a good little walk, and she would wait with us outside until her stepmother, Emma, her name was Emma, moved in with her daddy. Her daddy and Emma moved in there, and Emma had a couple of boys, and they all slept in that 2-room shack. It was a hard life for them. The daddy worked, and Emma stayed home and raised those boys. Well, I'm going to hush. Time for my church, and I stream, and he's on TV right now. So I'll talk to y'all later. It's been nice this Sunday morning. I've enjoyed it, and I hope you have. But if this gets too long for you, you know what to do. Just pause it and watch it later. Good idea. And I'm not the one that came up with that. I think Granny Pat came up with that idea and told me a long time ago. And now Debbie and Life with Debbie in Kentucky Life with Debbie, she's doing it, and it makes sense because or put your earbuds in and just listen if you want to listen. So I'm going to shut up for now and wish you a good Sunday afternoon, and maybe we'll go out to lunch. And I'm always looking forward to something, and it's good to have something to look forward to and to have a husband. And you girls that maybe might want another husband, let me suggest that you just join one of those things. And I mean, God would protect you. You only want a Christian man. If you're a Christian woman, you wouldn't have anything else. So there are good sites out there for getting acquainted and getting to know each other. And I'm glad I got acquainted with that man I got acquainted with, and he was a good man, but he just wanted to watch his grandson play volleyball or something. Yeah, and I don't even know what volleyball hardly is. So that didn't work out. But then other things worked out because I got a good girlfriend. And me and that girlfriend would have breakfast together. And one thing about having a girlfriend, you can do more things with a girlfriend a lot of times than you could with a gentleman friend anyway, because you know what they want. I'm not going to tell you. So I'll talk to you later. Y'all know what they want. And you walk that path where Jesus would be pleased with you. And I know you're going to. And we're going to do our best. And I'm not perfect. But I say, Lord Jesus, forgive me when I mess up. And sometimes I mess up. We all do one time or another. We get tempted and we give in sometimes. And sometimes we just plain make mistakes. And we just have to say, I'm sorry, and go on. Do the best we can with what we got. That's my motto. Love you. Walk that path now. Bye bye.